Hey friends, we do a little jamming before we start getting into any discussions, huh? To discuss about what's disgusting. Here we go. One, two, three. Ta-da! Okay, everybody out there in YouTube land, this is Rockin' Dave from Northwest, from North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida, and welcome to our live streaming show. We're gonna give it a little time for some people to log on, but I will start getting on with some of my discussions I would like to talk about, and maybe do a little jamming. We're not going to eat up a whole lot of time here because I want to be respectful for everybody's time. Plus, we got a gig later on today in Cape Coral at a place called Rusty's. Excuse me. So, and then besides, all this gets replayed anyway. So, and then we've had some people staying up late last night watching some of the other live streams. Want to give a shout out to. Well, first I want to give a shout out to Joe Winch from the Joe Winch Project. If all goes well, maybe I could get this up and going on this Friday, where I could do a live hangouts with him and Ben Coombs. That'd be nice. And now I could return the favor and like to interview those two guys. And what I'll be starting to do when I can, have to see what time works for everybody, is start people want to be interviewed and spotlighted and things of that nature. Just let me know, and then we can find out what's a good time for everybody. Because I would like to do that. Really would like to do that. I try to keep this channel and this live stream specifically for the gigs and the unsigned local guitarists. When I mean by local, I'm not just talking about Florida. So if there's anyone down here in the Southwest Florida, area, or anywhere in Florida, just let me know. But basically anywhere across the U.S. and over in, of course, Canada, our friends up to the north, and over in Europe and that. Because I think we got something very unique here with this platform, with YouTube. I really think it's a great thing to take advantage of. I might have mentioned this before, where if a person cannot go out and play any gigs for whatever reason, deck out your rehearsal spot. If you got a full band, go ahead, deck it out, man. And with a lot of stuff that's on the market nowadays, you'd be surprised. Everything I do is right off of my phone, as you probably are aware of. I will be looking into the company Blue. They have this microphone called the Blue Mikey, and I know there's a lot of other products out there that is probably far better, or whatever. But what I like about this thing, it pops right into your phone. There's no extra cables and all this and that and the other. Plus, it does have a jack if I'm going to go direct right into my phone, and it's got clipping where I could monitor everything. And of course, I watch all my outputs on my effect units as well. I think it's relatively inexpensive. I think it's like $100 or less, depending on where you get it at. And it does have a switch I've seen where you could go for loud, meaning if you're in a loud environment, it'll drop the volume so there's no clipping. And then there's the middle section on the switch, in middle position, I think is auto, so it'll automatically monitor everything. And then if it's real quiet, then for that mode, if it needs to bump up its gain stage in the microphone, it'll do that as well. I think there's 3 LED screen, little lights on the bottom, on the side, or wherever they are. So I think that's gonna be cool, But my point is, you could get this stuff fairly now inexpensive. Set up some stands, and go ahead and record your band, and stream it live if you want, and things of that nature. I do not know how to monetize this platform yet, but I'm doing the research, and what's really nice is that it's a steady. It'll be like maybe a steady flow of income, depending on how great or how small it is. That we'll see how it works. What I was just doing here is just live looping with my Digitech RP360 XP. So if you heard that bass, that's coming right from the RP360. I do have a Roland GR55 and GR33 guitar synth, and it's got some really nice strong bass patterns. But with patches, but with the Digitech, you don't need any extra cords. It's just regular 1/4 inch output. And then I run it into my Jamman stereo, and it's works great. So I had to do this real quick. Let's see if I could do this. Look at that. See, I told you I could do editing. Okay. I guess we got one person joined on. Hey, how's it going, friend? I'll find out who you are, because on my screen nothing comes up. I think something will come up. I hope to God we got it to come up. Anyways, there we got breaking news. See that? Nice. Last night we got back from our gig. Scott Nicholson. Hey, how you doing, my friend? Cheers. Cheers. So last night we got back from our gigs. I did my gig at the restaurant, La Corte Bistro in Cape Coral. So if you're in Cape Coral area down here in Southwest Florida, you gotta check out La Corte Bistro. There is no dress code, but just dress nice. But you can dress casual. It is the most phenomenal restaurant in all of Southwest Florida. Great people. The owners always take the time to come out and thank you for choosing their restaurant. They got a top-notch chef. The food is always fresh. No garbage. So yeah. So I was doing that gig last night. My wife Deb was doing a DJ gig for a fellow member of the Cape Coral Chamber of Commerce. So we're both, and she was actually about maybe 10 to 15 miles down the road from me. So I want to apologize to everybody. I was trying to do a live stream yesterday and something had happened, and I think it's a combination of more operator error than it was internet connection, because what I was doing, I had my phone on my stand and I had it where it's tilt so you could see my perspective of what I see. That's why I think I titled it What I See, because it's literally when I look at the fretboard, this is, you know, my perspective, what I see. Something happened and I could not get it where it would flip around so that I could see the screen. So in other words, how I have my phone set right now, I could see my image, but you know how you could just flip the camera around. So I had flipped the camera around like you would normally do, so that that screen was everything that I was seeing, so I could make sure I'm not going to smash into anything or, you know, knock the phone down or anything. And then it just kept on wanting to revert back, so I was like, okay, you know, once again, Neanderthal man here trying to figure out technology. So that's why I had to stop that, but I did do some recording. I will put it up. I did put something up last night where I was doing a combination of the acoustic shredding and the flamenco playing, so you could kind of see my hands. But this other video is going to be more perspective of what I'm seeing here. So, oh, but again with this sign, you know, breaking news, you know, here's my editing again, breaking news. So, last night we get home, and I know the Tone King said he was going to go live like in 3 hours, and at this time it was like 11:30. I'm like, are you kidding me? What time is everyone up? Because if he's in New York, he's on the same Eastern time as we are, so, you know. But it is Friday, so. But he had something interesting about Digitech. And, you know, although he really didn't have the whole scoop on what's going on, you know, everything when it's hearsay, I guess one of the guys from Digitech had opened up another channel and didn't say it's Tim or Tom from Digitech, so now there's a whole speculation what's going on. And honestly, I really, and like the Tone King, he's a good guy, you know, give you one of those bad boys, Mr. Tone King. And like all you guys out there, we don't like to speculate till we know facts, because that's how rumors get spreaded, you know. And the thing is, what you put up on the internet, it stays up. Even though if you take it down, someone shares it, then it's, you know, it's a rumor that's spread, you know, like wildfire. That's why I really don't like to bash people and say anything bad about anybody, because if a person does you wrong and they apologize about it and you kiss and make up, so to speak, you still have what you said bad about them floating around, you know. And all it does is keep on stirring up bad feelings, and I don't like that, you know. It's like I don't like stirring up rumors, you know. So, we'll have to wait and see what goes on with Digitech. And I really hope that nothing bad happens to them, because I'm not endorsed by Digitech. If they ever wanted to use me to help endorse, you know, I'd be honored. Because I do like what I could do with their products, especially being a soloist, or, you know, when I play in a duo. And if I have to create my live looping tracks or load in my tracks into my Jam Man stereo, it's great. It really works perfect. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. Like, another breaking news is that Yamaha bought into Ampeg. And Yamaha, you know, is a huge corporation. I have a Yamaha NTX 700 nylon string guitar, and of course I got to put new strings on it. It's an absolute workhorse. The majority of gigs I was doing up in Wisconsin with the Renaissance Fair, most of the time I was using that guitar. And you know, it gets hot down here in Florida. But it's equally as hot up in Wisconsin, in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So I'd be out there all day with that guitar, and I never have problems with it, man. No tuning issues, nothing. Super, super reliable. I only paid $500 for the guitar, you know. And it just works great. But you see, Yamaha is a huge corporation, and they bought into Ampeg, and so hopefully Ampeg and everything's gonna be nice and wonderful. We hope it's gonna be nice and wonderful for the Ampeg folks as well. But I mean, Yamaha, gee, look what they make. Not just drums and PA recording gear. I'm pretty sure it's the same company, because they're sharing that same tuning fork, pitchfork emblem with their jet skis, their boats. snowmobiles, motorcycles. So they have a huge backing, a huge source of income through all what they're doing, and with all their engineers and that. They're real smart people. So I also used to have a Yamaha. It's not the SG series. It's called the SBG series. They had the 1000, the 2000. I had the 3000. I bought it in 1985. It was white with the abalone body binding, neck through series, the coil tapping. It was the same model that Rick Emmett used from Triumph. And I traded a friend of mine for some JBL speakers with that guitar. But yeah, Yamaha, and of course with the SPX90 effect units, and I remember when they came out with their DX7 keyboard back in 1986. We were playing heavily out in 1987, very heavily out in 1987. So that was the whole rage back then. And then we had the Yamaha PA systems. My wife, before I met my wife, she used to run sound professionally, and she had a lot of Yamaha gear, huge Yamaha board, and never failed her, you know. And here's the thing, with a lot of these products coming out, there is so many of them, and they're all doing great. They all sound great, but you do want to make sure they're reliable, because once you start doing a lot of gigs, and especially a lot of outdoor gigs, you're at the mercy of the weather, and it has to work. You know, I don't care what name is on the headstock or on the product, as long as it works, you know. Plus, it being inexpensive, like getting back with Digitech, I know, and I've played units that have certain sounds better than what this has. But I'm able to get in there and EQ everything, and plus in the combination of what I use it for, it works great for me. And brand new, they're like $200, you know, the RP360. You have the 360 and the 360 XP. The XP stands for the expression pedal. So let's say you pay full price, $200, and then, excuse me guys, you get the, I bought this separate. It does come with the core of the FX3 foot switch. Yeah, do you have favorite locking tuners? Oh, you know what, Scott? I do, and in the past, I mean in the beginning, when the Floyd Rose came out, I liked it. Now as far as locking tuners, like on the headstock, I have a Camelot guitar, which later on I'll start showing some of my guitars. But the Camelot guitar has the locking Spurzels on it. Those things work great. My Gibson Les Paul has the Grover locking tuners, and those work fine as well. But personally, without a locking trem, the locking tuners up here, I never really had issues with that. Maybe it's because of the years that I started playing. You know, back in the 70s, we didn't have all the stuff that we have now. So you find ways to make do with what you have, and then everything else that comes out is an extra plus. Now, when it comes to like locking trems and locking tuners, I did have a guitar, a Dean Baby Z, that had the Kaler system on it, and the Kaler system seemed real nice. But because the guitar was unfinished and still needed to be finished, I didn't get a chance to fully use that system. But I want to share something with the Floyd Rose and then the Ibanez. What I like about the Ibanez, it's more low profile, because when I do my palm muting, I don't have to feel like my hand is up in the air. Here's my theory on like locking tuners and locking trems in this situation. If you've noticed, like on Les Paul type guitars where you have the bridge and the stop bar tailpiece, you have an extra, you do have like an extra play between where the ball end stops on the stop bar tailpiece and where it actually, the string goes over the saddle. So you have a little bit of play there. And if you sweat a lot and do a lot of palm muting, sometimes you're putting pressure on that string, and it gives it enough wiggle room back there, even if it's like this distance. Check it, that distance. It's enough wiggle room to make the string break. That's been my experience. On a Strat style guitar where it laces through the from the back, I think the distance from that ball end of the string to where it actually goes over the saddle might be a little bit longer. I hope I'm not, you know, confusing people here. But the Les Paul might be like this type, you know, this distance, where the Strat style might be this distance. And in theory, and from experience of breaking strings, it wiggles. But with the any type of like the Ibanez or the Floyd Rose, when you take that string and you put it right in where that saddle is, you get maybe, if I could do this, maybe about that much string distance, maybe a little bit, about that much. So you don't get as much wiggle. And I've noticed this over the course of time that it's not breaking. Okay, yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that, Scott, because I don't want to confuse people. And then you add to the fact that, okay, you sweat a lot if you play. Then you're outdoors in the summertime and it's hot. You know, all the acid from we all have like sweat, and our sweat might have a form of acid. It starts to wear down the strings really quick, and then bam, they start popping. Especially, oh, thank you, Scott. Thank you. I try, man. I try. You know, everything, it's always from experience, you know. So what happens is, you know, usually for me, it'll be sometimes when I'm doing some shred playing, if I'm doing something like, you know, oh, I got to put it in my butt. You know, or if I'm palm muting, you know, or palm muting a melody line. All that sweat is going on my strings, you know, where the bridge is. So then when I'm doing any type of rhythms like this, or if I have to do anything syncopated, usually on the upstroke, that's when, bam, a string pops. But I've noticed on any type of my locking trem systems, I never had that problem. And I think it's because of that distance. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room, so it's like, bam, it's locked in there. Now I think like a lot of you guys out there, you'll have your tuners, your fine tuners, set maybe at midpoint. So let's say you want to do a drop D tuning, you could just, you know, you have enough slack on that low E string to do a drop D. But at the same time, if you do go out of tune, you need to bring the pitch up without grabbing the locking, the Allen wrench. You know, you could tune down on the, you'll have enough slack on that. So I do know, and I do have an old Gibson catalog from 1980, that some of their guitars back then, their stop bar tailpiece actually had fine tuners. They didn't have anything locking up here or nothing up here, but they did have some fine fine tuners on the Les Paul Artesian and the Les Paul Artist, I believe. I do know the Artesian, and some of the old 355s. They've had those. It was something they were trying. So, yeah. It's just everything you got to experiment with, you know. Okay, what string brand and gauge do you like? Okay, I kind of go back and forth between Diodarios and the Ernie Ball Slinkies. On my Les Pauls, I like 11s, and I really don't do any drop tuning. And it's because of doing so much stuff acoustically, I don't like the strings wobbly. So with that, I'll use the 11s. On these type of guitars with the Floyd Rose, I will use the 10s. And I do, again, going back and forth. What I do like about with the Ernie Balls, for instance, this are the 10s. You open up the pack, and each string is individually in its own sleeve. With the Diodarios, you open up the pack and all the strings share the same sleeve, so you gotta kind of separate them. I really don't like changing strings. It's like downtime. Now for my acoustic guitars, on all my acoustic guitars, I'll use Diodarios. Surprisingly, on my acoustic steel string, I'll use 10s with an 011 high E, because acoustic 10s are slightly thicker than electric guitar string 10s, if that makes any sense. I think there's just an extra winding on there to make, because the acoustic guitar is a different animal, so it has that. I think. I'm almost positive. And because if I'm playing acoustically, a lot of times I'll get hired out to do like a corporate event or a private event, and they'll have me play from 3 to 4 hours, and then sometimes they'll add on an extra hour And then, you know, from doing a lot of bar chords and stuff like that, it's like, okay, you know, after a while it starts to, you know, put tension on the hand. So that's why I'll use those light strings on the steel string. On my nylon string acoustics, I'll use D'Addario extra hard tension because I don't like the strings to wobble so much. Because again, when I'm doing any type of tremolo picking with the pick, you know, I'll use a 1mm pick, and I'll use those strings. And actually, these are the type of picks I use. I don't know if you could see that. And I used to hate these triangle picks until one of my students told me, Dave, if this end wears out, you flip the pick, you got this end. So you get more playtime out of the pick. I'm like, brilliant. And again, it helps me because I also play classical guitar. So I try to keep my fingernails not real long, but just long enough where I could get the string. Because on a nylon string guitar, it's like a combination of fingernail and flesh. And the little jazz picks I used to use would just wearing my index finger down terribly. So I had to be a little bit creative with that. So, which getting on to the subject about playing different styles, and when I had mentioned in some of my chats, I'd be talking about gigs, you know, and well, bias restaurant slash or restaurant club owners slash booking agents, and how I get around that. One way I get around that is I'm able to play different styles that I personally enjoy, like to play. So that kind of helps there. Another way is I'll be really respectful to these people, you know, because I have to understand and realize that they're really stuck to that brick and mortar building, and you know what goes on each month, even each week, you know, because down here in Florida, it's like it's always going, even though we do have a slow season. You know, these restaurant owners and club owners, you know, they have overhead, they have employees, they have liquor license, they have to watch the inspectors, health inspectors, and things of that nature. So I try to look at it from their point of view. However, there are those that they get very biased, and some of the booking agents and that. And what I do is I just kind of stay away from them. You know, I'll give it like baseball, 3 strikes, and I won't, you know, call them like 3 days in a row. I'll spread out my phone calls, I call my courtesy calls. I spread it out, you know, 3 weeks or a week increment. Hey, R2, R3 Locking Nut, how's it going, buddy? Hey, thank you for joining, man. Hey guys, thank you so much. And getting back to talking about the bias gigs and the bias restaurant and club owners and booking agents, I really don't like to name people out by names because I don't really believe in doing that. Only if it's something that is really bad, that they're doing really bad, and I'll do that with a separate person in private and let them know that, hey, maybe you kind of watch this guy, or just to be aware. But I won't put it up on the internet because I really don't like doing that. Because again, like I said earlier, when you do that, everything that you say, it stays up on the internet. We got more people. Scott Nicholson. Hey, oh, he's giving R2, R3 cheers. Hey guys, again, I apologize about when I went to go live yesterday. It's more operator error than bad connection. I thought it was a bad connection. I'm still new to all this stuff, so you know, as things evolve and my brain expands on this, life's gonna get a lot better. But yeah, so getting back with the restaurant owners and things of that nature, I try to look at their point of view. Because see, us musicians, we're transient. And when my wife and I were doing our road shows heavily just a few years ago, I mean, I think the last one we did was just last summer, yeah, Colorado. Yeah, we went from Illinois to Colorado, then back to Illinois, then back down to Florida to check things out down here, back up to Illinois. Then that following the end of the month, literally, we came back down here, and now we're permanently here. So, but before that, man, we were going from Illinois to Texas, back to Illinois, from Illinois to New Mexico, back to Illinois, Illinois to Arizona. Then there was a couple times we had 3 or 4 gigs in a row. We had to go from Illinois to, let's say, Minnesota, then through Wisconsin, then down to Indiana, and then back. I mean, we didn't even have time to spend a night in a hotel because the gigs were that close. So we were sleeping in our car, taking showers at the truck stops, which a lot of truck stops are real nice. You know, they're clean. That's when I had a chance to meet Ringo Starr up in Minnesota, but I had to forfeit that opportunity because we had to hurry up and pack and drive down to Indiana. You know, now here in Florida, it's interesting here because we really don't have a whole lot of roads like we did back up in Illinois. So, you know, everything, you got to plan everything out. So I'm trying to see. Oh, there's Zach. Hey, how's it going, Zach? Yeah, good talk. Good seeing you guys. So yeah, it's interesting. And of course, we were self-funding all our road shows. So there's something magical about doing this. You don't have to rely on anybody. You know, you get the gig, and you set the date. And of course, my wife, would set up the contract. We would get the deposit, so it would lock in that date, so no one else could book that date because it's locked in. And sometimes people would pay us full right there, and then we do the gig, and then we're all paid off, and then they tip us. So that's another way how we were able to get around the bias that is out there. And the only reason I mention this is because that type of I don't want to say attitude maybe, but that type of way does kind of close doors for musicians. It closes the doors of an opportunity for them to get a chance to gig and play and to get exposure. But see, now with YouTube, you don't have to worry about it. See, there's another way of getting around all that. And you could do it without bashing anybody and just, leave those people be. Let them do what they need to do. Because again, as an owner of a business, there's a lot more to it than what we see as musicians, especially with their employees, overhead, taxes. If you have any type of club where you have food and drink, you got a liquor license, you got to watch people if they're not, underage. That was going on a lot. That'll close the place down. You got to watch people don't get sick. Here comes the health inspectors. So there is a lot. There really is a lot. So I try to take all that in perspective. And again, what I said earlier, I do like, in baseball, 3 strikes and you're out. I give a courtesy. I call once, then I wait maybe a week and a half, then I call back, then another week and a half, do another follow-up call, and I just try to be polite. And if at that point I cannot convince that person, I wish them well, and I say, well, maybe in the future. And I also try to work with their budget. They like that because some of these places, they're hurting, Now, you guys are going to know this more than me. And I find out more and more that these people are doing these gaming, like a gaming cons. They got these gamers, so they go, I guess they rent out a banquet hall or, like at a hotel, and they pack the place and they sit there and play games. What we are seeing nowadays is this huge shift of entertainment. Back in the 80s when the beta first came out, and then of course the beta and then the VHS, the movie theaters were freaking out. They're like, oh my God, people could rent movies or buy the movies at like $100 a videotape. Yeah, I had too many. Oh, okay, yeah. So you guys are having a good time. Let's say that's how you gotta enjoy life, man. Anyways, so the movie theaters were freaking out like, oh, here comes, the VHS are gonna wipe us out of business. It didn't exactly wipe them out of business, but it did alter. Because I remember as a kid in the 70s, downtown Chicago, there was movie theaters everywhere. Anyone that's from Chicago that goes to the Riviera, it's on the corner of Broadway and Lawrence and, Clark Street comes. There used to be a Goldblatt's right on the corner. Now I think it's something else, but my wife just said Goldblatt's. We had Goldblatt's and Weebolt's and Community, like what would be equivalent to Target and Kohl's and all that now. But anyways, the Riviera was a movie theater, and then just right down the street across Lawrence Avenue, the Uptown was a movie theater. Then we had downtown Chicago. the United Artists, and all these other movie theaters. I remember in 1975 we went to see the movie Jaws, and literally there's a line wrapped around the block. A different time. Everybody was going out. We didn't have all these things, these conveniences that we have now. So what I try to do when someone is biased, club owner, booking agent, I try to look at their perspective. Now when they get rude with me, I just forget that guy, you know. I ain't gonna deal with that. I'm not gonna deal with that. I'm not gonna beg. I'm not gonna kiss someone's crack or anything like that. I don't believe in that. There's dignity. There's some self-respect. You know, respect's got to be earned. You respect those people. Hopefully they respect you back. If they don't respect you back, leave them alone. You know, just walk away. Because maybe later on in life they're just, you know. See, I believe in karma. What goes around comes around. And that is so true. I've seen it happen. It didn't really happen to me as it coming back on me. I've had people try to do me dirty. And then I get busy with my life because I just try to forget things and move forward. And next thing you know, a year or two down the road, that person, boy, it's like they went down the toilet. You know, boom. And I feel bad for them, but it's because when a person conducts themselves that way, sooner or later, they bring it back to themselves. And, you know, I don't want to see that happen with anybody, but it's a lesson learned. And with these restaurant owners and club owners, they got a lot of overhead. They got a lot they got to worry about. So another way that we would get around bias. Well, here's a good example. There's a particular place I was trying to get in, not just in Illinois, but also down here, and I was, you know, real play. And so walked away from it. Next thing you know, about a month later or so, we get a call for a corporate gig, and I'm winding up playing at the exact same place with the owner's wife there, and just like 100 people, and everyone's having a good time. And they're like, oh, reconnecting. Okay, sorry guys. You know, I think Pluto just went over Venus, and Mars went this way. You know, the internet. yeah. Thanks, R2. I really appreciate that. You know, you have to have some sort of dignity and self-respect, and it's not being big-headed or arrogant or egotistical, but you have to, because if you don't, these people will take advantage of us. I'm sure a lot of you out there have the experience of gigging now, and we're seeing a time where it's like, geez, we'll give you the gig, but I tell you what, we'll give it to you for exposure. Yeah, it'll be exposure. That means it's going to be free. Now, you could use that to your advantage and try to gain business off of that. Oh yeah, Scott Nicholson, I agree. I work in construction. Hey, I used to work in construction too. My wife and I, besides the music, we had a construction company. She had a custom oak staircase company, and then she also helped me with my heating and air conditioning company. And we were out there doing residential new construction. So, yeah. And that's why I tried to watch my temper. I used to be very hot-headed. First I was a nice guy, you know, everything's new to you. Then you get screwed over a few times, and then you're dropping the F-bomb everywhere. And I mean, man, I was hot. I had to throw my drill across the, you know, house and just get all pissed off, you know. But you got to watch that. As you get older, you don't want to, you know, pop a gasket, so to speak, give yourself a heart attack or a stroke. You know, it's not worth it. Once you get sick to that degree, it could be irreversible. Now you're really screwed, you know. But, okay, so I get the gig, and then the club owner's wife sees that, okay, wow, this guy's not BSing us, you know. So then we try to work something out, and whether I get the gig with this guy or not, that's fine, no big deal. You know, we work things out where I respect him, but now he respects me. And personally, when I call, sorry guys, I don't know what's going on. Now this is not operator error. So let me pick up where I left off. What I like to do is when I call these places, I like to talk with the owner. And I've had this discussion with an owner. And he gave me the impression that he disagrees with this. Because I said, look, the reason why I like to talk with the owner is the owner signs the paycheck. Well, he goes like this. Well, I don't know. I says, no. You're the owner. You own the shop. Whether you have a manager give me the check or not, it's still you signing the front, because we had our business, we would sign the front of that paycheck. You know, that's how it's really done. So that's why I like to talk with the owner and work with him or her, work with their budget, and see where that goes. So then this way they could see if, and I like to meet in person. If I can't meet them in person, I like to talk to them, you know, over the phone. The internet's nice, but when you're typing and you're texting, you could kind of tell a person's personality, but it's not like when you talk with them, because this way you can kind of feel them out, you know, if they're easy to work with. So, you know, as I told him, I like to work with them in person, and you know, he disagreed, and that's fine. But you know, you see, if you're going to be the owner, then you have to also accept the responsibility as ownership. It's not just everything peaches and cream and everything's wonderful and, you know, fuzzy bunnies and you're going to be filthy stinking rich. It's not like that. You're going to have downtime. You're going to have recessions. You got to be smart. You got to be smart with that money. So that's one way I was able to get the gigs. Another way, and I know a lot of people disagree with this, but in a way there is a lot of truth to this. Now, I do not believe in playing at a club that says they hire bands on a weekly basis where it's to pay to play. And I know a lot of you are agreeing with that, and I agree with that. However, if you really want to play at a certain venue, let's say it's like a theater type venue, which got a nice stage and it's got an area where it's like a huge restaurant, and you know, it's just like dinner and a show. There's a lot of that down here, and there's a lot of that other places too. And you really want to get your foot in the door, it's one of two things. You rent the place out and you sell the tickets. And I know this is very tough to accept on one aspect of it, because then now this almost sounds contradicting. It's almost like, okay, Dave, you said you don't like pay to play, but now here it sounds like you're paying to play. This is almost a guarantee. If there's a specific place you really want to play at, and let's say you got people that really want to see you, and you got this act that's great, and you think it should be at a much more higher, I don't say higher level, because I never want to degrade anywhere I play at, but let's say at a certain type of a venue, you rent out the place. Or what we used to do, we used to buy the dinner. It would be like a dinner and a show. In this case, it was for a lot of the senior centers. So they'd come out for a lunch and a show. And there was two places in Illinois, in the suburbs of Chicago, we'd play at. One was up in Schaumburg, Chandler's Steakhouse. We'd play there. And another place was in, I think it's in the Bolingbrook area, White Fence Farm. So what we were doing, we were buying the meal, so we didn't have to rent the place, buying the meal and then selling it as like a lunch and a show, and we were making money. We were making some pretty good money, man. I was pretty shocked. So over the course of time, you could start to really build that following. The nice thing about that is when you're flipping the bill, the owner of the facility, they are guaranteed to make their money. And if you're smart about it, or you know, if you're smart about it, and even if you're starting out and you're trying to build a following, and you're smart about spending your money, and you have this extra money that you could afford to do this, and kind of, let's say you are just a little bit below breaking even, let's say, because the first times it's gonna be rough. So you can kind of analyze this. If you felt you had a good turnout and you like to do this and you want to try this again, then you can kind of build on it, but you just have to be smart with the money. Guarantee the booking agent, let's say, that does the booking there, but he doesn't own the property, he doesn't own the building, he's not the person that owns the restaurant or the club that is renting, and you go over that person's head, the booking agent, let's say they've been biased. I've done this a couple of times. You go over their head, talk with the owner, and if they like you, that's one way of getting in. And it's kind of tough because you might make bad blood with that booking agent. But again, don't just kind of like leave that alone. Let your actions speak louder than your words and their words. And That's one way of getting around it. See, because again, everything has changed out here. The whole platform is totally, totally different. It's not the 70s anymore. It's not the 80s. It's not the 90s. Of course, a lot of us know that. So we have to take advantage of platforms like YouTube. If there's a way that I can learn to monetize it, I will. I'm sure there is. But it is a tough topic to really talk about, because I'm sure a lot of you had done the phone call. You're on the phone more and driving around more than you're actually practicing, because us musicians are also salespeople. When my wife cannot do this, I'm doing this. But my wife could tell you stories of how many times she'd be on that phone, and she would do that to give me the freedom to concentrate on the material, because the shows I was doing with this vocalist, we had 4 different types of shows. Then I had my classical flamenco style gig I was doing. Then I had my rock stuff when I started doing Guitar Heroes. So I had all these different styles, and it wasn't like, okay, I'm in the rock and pop sector, and I'm going to stay in that sector, just going to alter. No, it would literally be from like a contemporary jazz to classical. Then when I was up at the Renaissance Fair, had to play a lot of the Renaissance music, then try to blend in with some of the rock. I mean, I do a gig at the Renaissance Fair, and then maybe that following Monday I had something that was totally so far removed, so my mind was constantly going, trying to shift all these different styles around, and it could get tough. It could really get tough. So what I would do is, for my practice exercise, I would practice a lot of technique so that I'd keep up my chops, and then I would practice a lot of what I call finesse, learning how to play softly, slowly, learning how to play with more expression here, because a lot of these styles, you're all over the place. If you ever had to do session work, you will be most likely in situations where you might have to do something real soft, and then the next day you're doing a shred fest, and it's all points in between. So having the ability to do different styles is another way that helps you to get a lot of gigs and to avoid the bias, because sooner or later these people that have maybe treated you bad, they're going to see and hear of you, and then they're going to see a different perspective, a different take on what you're doing, and then they're going to realize, oh, you're not just this, you could do that. Oh, well, I could use it here. And then that's when we start to understand what really goes on with some of these people, especially the club owners, because they're the ones that really have the overhead. The booking agent might book a place here, then book a place there, and I'm not saying that they don't have issues, because they got to make money, especially if they're advertising. My wife had told me this a long time ago. There's a saying about the golden rule in business. He who has the gold makes the rules. The person that is pulling the money out of their pocket to invest in you, they do have some sort of say-so. And I know from a creative standpoint that doesn't sound fair, but from a business standpoint, you have to look at it that as well. That's why the best way, in my opinion, and from my experience, is if you could self-fund everything, you will come out literally ahead. And watch what you spend, and how you spend your money. Don't spend that money before you're making it. Never think that you're hitting the big time. Always be prepared that you might not make the money that you think you're going to make, so there's no surprises. And then you travel from, let's say you travel 1,400 miles away from home, and you're stuck away from home because now you got no money to come back. I've had friends that have been in that situation, and it's not good. It's not good at all. So again, I wanted to touch bases on this topic, and I did not want to mention anybody's names or make it sound like I'm bashing people, because I'm really not. There is a way around this, and I know it might sound like it's not a very specific way, It could almost sound like a little vague here, a little vague there. Okay, let's see. I wish I had this advice. Yeah, when I was gigging early. You know what? R2, R3. I wish I knew about this. Let's see. I graduated high school in 1980, and of course, you know, you're out of high school, and life is new. And that whole summer, I took the summer vacation off just to drill and practice my ass off, man. Because I had in the back of my mind, what happens if this doesn't work out, and I have to, you know, get a day job and things of that nature, right? So at least I'll build up my chops now. But if I knew what I know now back then, I would never have to go through half the things I've gone through. Just like you just mentioned, even in the 90s, you know. Again, I mentioned this once before. A friend of ours back in Montgomery, Illinois, has a recording studio, asked my wife. He said, Deb, what does it take to make it in this business? And my wife said one word, money. And I know that there's going to be people that disagree with that statement, because they're always going to tell you, no, Dave, you don't understand. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And there is some truth to that, okay? But now, who are these people that you're supposed to know? I mean, let's really think about this. Not what you know, it's who you know. The who that you know are the people that have money. So, or they'll have connections, and I'm not knocking that, but chances are they're going to have money. Because the reality is, I don't care if you're Eddie Van Halen, if you're Yngwie Malmsteen, or anybody else, and I respect those guys, nobody is exempt from paying bills. Except if you are, you know, out in the street. And I feel very bad for those people. So that's not a pot shot to take at those people. But the reality is, we're all in the same boat together. Everyone has bills to pay. When's the last time that you looked at your mailbox and there was no bill? You know, see? So, the fact of the matter is, it does take money to make money. And when you want to so-called make it in music, now you're putting a business, kind of a business plan. Because you want to make money. No matter how great or how small you want to make. Hey, Adam EVH, how you doing, my friend? Yeah, Adam, you're a great guy, man. All you guys are great guys. I always urge, what you're going to start to see, especially when I remember to do this, I'm going to have like a little whiteboard or something. Everyone's names are going to be on there. It's going to be, have a big thing, subscribe. See, until I get used to knowing how to do everything on that screen, I'll have it all here. You know what I mean? I really thank everyone that has subscribed to my channel and who tunes in and listens to me babbling on, you know. I'm not a know-it-all. I hope I don't come across as a know-it-all, because trust me, I am not. I just have a lot of experience. And it's great to be able to share the experience, because you don't want to see people go through anything bad that you might have gone through. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so with money, there's a lot you could do, and I know, again, it sounds very contradictory, you know, to some people. I remember, I think it was back in 2004 or 2005, we contacted Guitar World magazine, and my wife got the person that does the sales and the advertising and things of that nature, and he sent us all the promo material, and it comes in a folder that's shaped like a Marshall half stack. So in there is all the information on the advertising. And I think my wife asked something to the effect of that, okay, how do you get a story about you? And how do you get yourself featured in the magazine and or on the cover? And I think they said it was like, back then it was like $10,500 or something like that. So let's say you hit the lottery and you want a story about you. Well, then it's called advertising, you know. I know that sounds crazy to some, because everyone is waiting for somebody to be, you know, to discover you. But until that time happens, we still have to move forward, you know. And if you find another way to help advertise yourself and help get yourself discovered, absolutely go for it. See, now we have the internet. And I remember when this whole platform was coming out, I would literally hear people try to tell us and tell everybody, you do not want to use the internet to promote yourself or use YouTube to promote yourself. You have to do it professionally, this, that, and the other. Well, now look what's happening. Everyone is using the internet and YouTube, And I think part of those people were kind of like hitting a panic button. They're like, holy crap, there goes our jobs. You know? When people start to find ways that they could get themselves out there, whether it's musicians, whether it is the needs, and what I mean by the needs, the services, medical, fire, you know, emergency vehicles, electrical, plumbing, HVAC. Those are necessities. Those are the needs in life. This, as much as we need to have, you know, good guitars and that, these are the wants. And we are in an industry, music industry, that is more of a want than it is a need. So, I've said this to students back up in Illinois. I would say, look, if college is not for you, and I always never tried to knock education, I just don't like the way some of it is pushed on people, you know. If you're more of a hands-on type of a guy or a gal, because I've met a lot of women that are very hands-on, including my wife. She's very, very strong business and hands-on. Then go to a trade school. I went to a trade school. I went to, if anyone is up from, and I think R2, R3 is from Illinois, and a couple of other guys. I apologize if I forget, you know, who's from Illinois and who's not. But I went to ETI for heating and air conditioning, not because I had this big dream. Yes, I want to be an HVAC guy. Yes, oh, you know. No, I did it out of necessity because I was tired working in the printing industry, making peanuts, struggling from paycheck to paycheck like everybody else. Heard an ad on the radio, and I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. I was horrible with math. I mean, I could add and subtract in it, but all this other stuff is like, you kidding? But I did good, got through the program, worked for 2 companies, and my interest was doing the housing market, you know, new housing, residential new construction. And we were able to incorporate, took the test, so I get my contractor's license, and the housing market was booming, and boom, we were in business. And we were making some good money. And with that, we were able to help fund what we were doing. But we had to be smart about it, because here's the thing. And I can only say this from HVAC. And I'm going to assume this on any other business. We made good money, but we had overhead. And we were also working out of our house. And my wife, she had her shop for the stair company because they need milling machines. But we still had to buy the furnaces, I used to buy cased coils for all the AC units, the ductwork, and then I had to wrap the ductwork because we would have situations running ductwork in the attics, and up in Chicago it gets cold. And then we had employees, so we have that. So everything is overhead. Boom, boom, overhead, overhead, overhead. So you have to, your mind is always thinking. I tell you what, it taught me a lot, man. It taught me a lot because I was the blue collar worker, and then I was the blue collar worker doing white collar work, if that made sense. Because even though I was owner operator, I was out there with the guys. And my wife would come out and help. Before we had people working for us, she'd come out and help. My whole point I'm trying to get here is this was a way that we were able to make money to help fund our music company. So we didn't have to worry about an endorsement or getting signed, or this person discovering us, because after years of broken promises and hopes and dreams and all that, it's like you get really sick and tired of it. And if you could grab the bull by the horns and heave ho and move forward, take control, take command, take control of your life, you come out ahead. But you were always thinking, and my point I was going to say is what happened was you get the notion that you're going to be rich and have all this time off. You're not rich and you don't have any time off. Your mind is always going. So now how does that apply to the music and my playing and things of that nature with the gigs? Understanding what's happening out there, understanding that there's trends in life, understanding that these people, as bad as we have it, they have it probably worse, because they are stuck to that brick and mortar building. We're transit, we could go anywhere. And I think that's the beauty. And we do have our set of issues as musicians. These things cost money. They cost money, and then they are not worth anything until 20 years down the road. Effect pedals. You know, when some of these units are going for over $1,000, watch and see what happens in 5 years. Now, unless it hits a trend and it just is the industry standard for years to come, no matter how well they're built, if it doesn't hit this trend and become the industry standard, watch and see what happens. You go to Guitar Center, oh, my friend paid $1,500 for that unit. Now look, I can get it for $500 now. See, this is what happens. That's why I say you got to be smart. And again, I'm not a know-it-all. I'm not trying to tell people what to do. Everyone does what they need to do that is for their specific situation. But the fact of the matter is, in this industry, in the music industry, a lot of us get taken as suckers and chumps. And the more that we kind of see reality of everything and start looking at it for what it really is, it's a want. It's not brain surgery. Open heart surgery, that's a need. You're up in Alaska, HVAC, you need that. You need to keep those facilities warm. Down here in the summertime, an emergency call is a no cool call. See, up in Illinois and up in the north and the east and all that, no heat call, that's deemed as an emergency call, because if you have a senior and you got elderly people that, or someone who's sick and they get pneumonia, boom, and you're in the trades, that's a want, that is a need. Down here it gets hot, someone could die. If you're in the business, you have to answer that call. How many times do you have to answer this call? Quite frankly, you have to answer the call of nature to use the bathroom before you got to do this. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be sarcastic here, but when you break things down in simplicity, then this big notion that there's this huge mystery, it starts to evaporate and go away. And then you can start thinking more with a clearer mind. And you can get around all the bias and all the BS that's out there by looking at things as they are, and then trying to have an open mind to understand where that person's coming from, and they've had a bad day or life was too rough for them. Yeah, 3 people in my band, including myself, took playing out serious. Okay, let me see if I get replay that, my friend. Sorry about that. Yeah, serious. The other 2 had yep. I'm telling you, R2, just like anyone else, those egos, man, they're gonna kill. They will kill you. Now, there is a difference between playing with confidence and having an ego. When you go on stage, you gotta own that stage. And when you're doing your guitar solo, you gotta own that moment in time, so that when you're done with your guitar solo, if you have a vocalist, that's not the time to go all nuts. Let the vocalist shine. It's all strategy. But so you got to have some sort of confidence in what you're doing. It's like a used car salesman. You go to buy a used car. Is that guy going to tell you everything that's wrong? Doom and gloom. Oh, I wouldn't buy this. I mean, unless he's going to try to get you in a brand new car. That's why I have. Oh, okay. Let me see. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. That's why I went up and went to school. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I gave up. This is what happens. This is what happens. Let me ask you guys a question. When you started playing, what made you start to play? Part of it is, oh, look at everyone. That's so cool, You could be on the big stage. You could be touring and that. But I think what really made us start to play, especially electric guitar, is the way it sounded and the way it looked. If rap, and I know rap and hip-hop is the big thing now, and if rock and roll never comes back, which I don't believe that, because everything comes in cycles. We just have to wait. We just have to wait. But no matter what happens, it still looks like rock and roll, right? This still looks like rock and roll, right? And with this platform, we could create our own stage, our own atmosphere. when I play at some of these places that might not be deemed as elegant as the other places, in my mind, I try to think that's the Coliseum. It's a sold out show, man. And if there's two people and they're talking to each other, not paying attention to me, in my mind, it's the Coliseum and it's packed and everyone's having a good time. I've gotten to the point in my life where I really don't care what a person thinks. And I don't mean that in a bad way. What I mean is, everyone is entitled to their opinion. But in that moment of time, I'm going to try to do the best I can because I simply love to play. And when I'm at the end of my life cycle, I could look back and I could say, if I never get signed, which is fine by me, I could care less. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I'm just being factual. I could say, well, you know what? Like Frank Sinatra, I did it my way, you know? I still went out there, I had a good time, I enjoyed life. There's nothing worse. Hey, Jim Gaitry, how are you doing, my friend? Hey, I will put up some videos. When I get the time, you'll see what I'm going to be doing, and you know, I'll give you all the respect that you deserve, man. I love what you're doing. It's kick-ass. Didn't mean to go on a tangent, my friends. But getting back to what I was just saying, I'm at a point in my life where I just like to enjoy myself, and with this platform, why not? Why look at it as doom and gloom? It's not the end of the world. I think I did a video coming home where this tree got uprooted and crashed right on this house. I mean, literally from the hurricane. And of course, you might see grass area because I just took the video a couple of days ago. The hurricane happened down here in September, so within the 8-month time span, grass is going to grow. But it uprooted that tree and bam, right on that house. When I hear people with the doom and gloom, and even myself, even my wife, when I get on the, poor me crying baby jag, my wife, thank God, she'll remind me that, hey, things could be worse. So when I saw that house, I'm like, yeah, things could be worse. So don't worry about people who are biased. There's always ways around it. And with YouTube, man, take advantage of it. If you don't, someone else is. You know, when I first started doing these looping pedals and the backing tracks, part of it was out of necessity. Part of it was we doing a guitar clinic, and then I got CDs out, self-produced. The first one, we went to a friend's studio, you know, and self-managed and everything. And I would demonstrate, you know, how I do things against the chord progressions I play. And I don't think in terms of music theory, my friend. I think in terms of expression of emotion. As a performer, that's monumental. That is absolute monumental. Anyways, so I started doing this at the bookstores. The club owners were playing the games. That's fine. I'm not going to mention who they are. And figure, you know what? What I want to do is take my music to the people. So whether it's a club, whether it's a bookstore, whether it's a coffee house, whether it's outside, don't care. Because they're the ones that's going to buy my merchandise. You know, bottom line. So I go out there and I'd use the backing tracks that I would create in our studio and the looping pedal, and people would say, oh, Dave, that's cheating. You know, I would tell them, you know what cheating? Cheating is when you're married, you got something on the side. That's cheating. This is being resourceful. If you don't take advantage of what we have now, I'm telling you, someone else is going to be right there, right behind you, waiting to take your job and put you out of business or be your competitor. So take advantage of what's out there. You know, enjoy life. Don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. I hope this all makes sense, my friends. I know I could go on babbling and babbling and babbling. Maybe it's my nature. Yeah, I don't know. But I just like to share some of the experiences. Because, like all you guys, everyone's got experiences to share. Go out and share it, man. That's how we learn. That's how we help each other. Now, when people watch the playback, my intro was just something really simple and stupid. The drums is coming directly from the Digitech RP 360. What I usually do, and I'm going to start doing my how-to videos. Oh, let me give it a task. Well, here's the reality. Thank you, guys. You know why I don't sing? I don't sing because I hate the way my voice sounds. When I listen to myself in the playback, I'm like, oh crap, I sound stupid, you know? But if I dummy up, and again, here comes the end of my life cycle. right? And I'm sitting in a bed and I'm looking, and I don't want to be the type of person looking back, I wish I would have, could have, should have, would have. You know what I mean? At least if you try to do something, you know, my dad used to tell me this. If you go out and you try and you fail and you fall on your face, at least you're still moving forward. Get up and brush the dust off and keep moving. So what? No one's going to care. They might say this, they might say that, but it's at the end of the day, they got their lives they got to, you know, worry about. And honestly, something that you've said or something you have done might help inspire a person that maybe doesn't even play music. It's a different, it's an outlook on life in general. And I just happen to be a guitar player. That's all. Maybe there's a person out there that they're trying to do gaming, which I'm starting to realize that people are, you know, they're packing theaters doing gaming. That's great. I would lose so fast at Guitar Heroes because where's the button? I mean, where's the strings, you know? So, but getting back to what I was doing here. So I used the Digitech. I layered down a drums and rhythm guitar, and then I come back with the bass, and then I just play over it. Because a lot of times the gigs I'm playing at, I have to improvise, you know. That's why you don't see me doing too many covers. I have to kind of think before I do the covers, you know. Not that I couldn't learn them. What happens with me, I start going over a song, and next thing you know, I start looking at it like, hey, I could play this part, and I think it sounds better. Then next thing you know, boom, there's another idea, you know. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I gotta hit the screen again. I am so sorry about this, guys. Yeah, thank you so much, R2. Plus more acceptable to... Oh, yeah, they are. Here's the deal. Uh-oh. Oh, Mr. Terry, how you doing, my friends? Terry rocks, man. Terry rocks. He's a great guy. I saw what he did with that Gibson SG. Awesome. And don't worry about what you could play, what you can't play. Everything develops. There's things I can't do. Everything will always develop. You know, don't let negativity or negative thoughts and sayings and whatever drag you down. Move forward. Move forward. But yeah, thank you, R2, with the nylon string guitar. Again, it's just taking a different perspective on things and trying to be creative and understanding that I know I could do a lot more shredding, a lot more of the overplay in those situations, but there are times I have to be smart because I'm making a lot of money off of those gigs. So if the criteria is, okay, Dave, we love what you're doing, but it's a different setting, it's more laid back, got no problems. See, this is the difference between ego and playing with confidence. And even there's people out there, I'm back in the 80s, there was a guy that he was pretty ego, he had a big ego, and we jam, and you know, I was the guy that had the little PV Special 130 with the 12-inch, the last version I had, I put a 12-inch JBL speaker in it, you know, it was a little amp, little guy, you know, little amp, little peon, you're not going to mount anything, blah, 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 you're little, you're small. I'm sure you guys have heard all this before. See, I'm the guy with the Marshalls. Yes, yes, I'm somebody. That's fine. You be somebody. But I didn't drink. I wasn't on Reconnected. Sorry, guys. I froze. You know. But getting back to that story, wasn't on dope, wasn't doing anything, wasn't supposed to. I was reliable, and I could play, like, fast scales real clean. Like, okay, they would hear stuff like this, you know. That's not as clean as I'd want it to be, you know. But so then when you had the distortion, and then with the wild playing and throwing the guitar around and all that, when it's required, that's when I would do that. Then they'd want me in their band, you know. So when I'm doing something that's more laid back, I know how to do that. And that's how I get the gigs. Anyways, I think my friends, I went over a little bit longer than what I wanted to. I try to keep these two like a little bit of a minimal because I don't want to burn it out. And you guys got things you got to do. And there's other people that have live streaming. And I want to be respectful to everybody out there. I think what I'll do for next week, kind of share, let's see, how I get all my sounds and things of that nature. I'll have to see. I'll keep people posted on what next week's stories will be. Again, I'm going to try to get into doing the hangouts, and I want to get Joe Winch and Ben Coombs. And then all you guys, let me know if you want to do like a hangouts and like interviews and things of that nature, so I can start talking about you guys and your experiences, and let you guys shine, because I really believe in that. I really believe in fairness and this whole platform, and just here you got R2, R3. You're awesome guitar player, awesome. Adam EVH, awesome. Joe Wench, awesome guitar player. Scott Nicholson, great guitar. All you people are great out there. Ben Coombs, I think I mentioned Jim Dietrich. Our metal stage show, awesome. And then of course I like Shane from In the Blues, and I love the Tone King. I love all those guys, and Andertons and that. But there's something special about the people that are just getting started, and even though they're getting started with this platform, they might have been playing for a long time. So, anyways, I will continue to try to push that as well. That's why I try to keep this with the local unsigned people. I will keep people posted on next week's show, and I think I'll do some recording and put that up for our gig tonight, and share some more stories with you guys. And but thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, in the words of the great Canadian guitarist philosopher Ben Coombs, always hold those doors open for people. Like Jim Dietrich says, stay safe and God bless out there. I always desire to inspire everyone. You guys are great. And thank you so much for subscribing. If you have any comments after this, please let your comments down. Put your comments down. I will start also doing the how to do videos, so you'll start to see what I'm doing. Not just guitar lessons, but how I'm using my gear. Yeah, you guys have a great Saturday. We'll see you next Saturday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Until then, take care, my friends. God bless, and rock on. Take care.